Hello and good evening. Oh, what a wonderful night. We have a guest with a powerful, powerful story, as all our guests are, but we have amazing guests that I interview. Um, this show is called Positively Positive. And the reason is because we are a storytelling show. I interview people who, in some way, are connected to HIV/AIDS. It could be someone who's newly diagnosed, has a story. Could be someone long term survivor, has a story. A caregiver, an organizational person. It has so many, a healthcare worker, all the different agencies we have at our disposal. And the interviews and the stories are coming in from all over the country because there are people, every one of you who've watched this video, these shows, these episodes, this series have a story, and I want to hear it. So when you see a number on the screen, you may call it or go to Campbell Health Solutions and just say you want to be on, and we'll send you the link, and you can pick the day and the time that we tape. But we do air only on Monday nights. We air on Monday nights from 7 to 8, and you can get it at Campbell Health Solutions, Monday night at 8. It's extremely exciting, this show, because the diversification of people is as diversification as HIV itself. So stay tuned, listen carefully, take notes, write some stuff down. But we want you. Be bold and come forth with your story and let me interview you. And we are not scripted, definitely not scripted. We have glitches sometimes and drops sometimes and audio issues. We are not scripted and edited. This is real. This is live. This is committed to love. And I'm Susan Mintz, your hostess. So you know now about the show. The reason I'm so intensely involved and will be to the day the Lord takes me is because I was married for 25 years to my best friend, and he contracted HIV somewhere in the 80s. He was very promiscuous. He was a bisexual, but he told me early on in our marriage that he was. And I said, I love you and I will never divorce you. And it was the Lord saying to stay with him. And I did. 30 years later, as a widow, I adore this man. I still love him. And it's his death that gave me purpose and enabled me to continue to say, I will now, Dr. Jeffrey Amens, I will now carry this issue with me, no matter where it takes me. And now it's taken me to another opportunity called Positively Positive. But I documented his journey with HIV and AIDS. He was gravely ill in June, and on June 20th, he was in the hospital, gravely ill. We thought he was going to pass because he had AIDS-related pneumonia and he had gotten advanced. But I documented every detail for over 2 years in journals. That's why I'm so increasingly asking people to journal and to write, because it's amazing what 20 years later, 30 years later, you have a product, or don't, but you can read how you've overcome that day. And that's what I did. I wrote every day. And then the next day when I read it, I said, I came through that day. So my book is called Committed to Love by Susan Mintz. And that's my personal journey, a widow's journey through love and loss. It's an amazing, amazing book that will be made one day, I know, into a streaming series or a major movie, because a love story is something we could use right now, especially one that has the depth and the issues and everything that I go through and went through, and to still be here by God's saving grace to talk about HIV and AIDS. The next book I wrote was when I volunteered at hospice for 6 years as an 11th hour volunteer. I met amazing people who I could relate to their stories. Maybe they were caregivers, or maybe they were people I met in an airplane, they just in general. And I wrote their stories down in what's called And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart, again, by Susan Mintz. I have written 13 books, but I only seriously published these two. So for $22.95, and go to my website, susanmintz.com. You can go to my Positively Positive page and read the other interviews, hear the other interviews that we've done. And you can go to my books page and you can read about Committed to Love, A Widow's Journey Through Love and Loss. You can read about my hospice adventure with people. And the books are $22.95, available at Barnes& and Noble or Amazon, which I always suggest. If you are an ebook person, I think it's Barnes& and Noble, but Amazon, I know people have gotten them both in a bundle, and each book has 24 chapters of issues embedded in the story. So the storytelling today is going to be different. Tonight, I'm still back where I was writing every day in my book. Tonight's story and interview is amazing. A man who has put in the time and dedicated himself to, well, I said I haven't worn this much makeup since the 60s, and I just adore it. His name is Tarrant Gilbert, and I'll be introducing him soon. But this man has gotten involved because he felt there was a call on his life to get involved with HIV and AIDS. And I'm going to interview this man, and he is going to tell you why it was so important in his life that he do something to help his community. And that's what all these stories have in them. They have HIV and AIDS as a component, has to be it. And then they have community activism. They have empowerment issues. They want to help their community wellness. And our guest is no different. So without further ado, I want to say, Tarrant Gilbert, come on in. Hello, my friend.
Hello, how are you doing, Ms. Mintz?
I'm just great. As long as I put my makeup on and the
Yeah,
jewelry and
you're beautiful, so it's
I, be-
okay.
I become this other person. So it really is. It's a character.
Mm,
I remember sometimes, if I only meet somebody once or twice, obviously when you're meeting hundreds of people, it's hard to remember everybody.
right.
But when I saw you then, I do remember you from the retreat
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the story you told. And that's what I want to get into. You are, I mean, of course I'm going to say, because I asked you, you are negative. You are not HIV positive in any way,
No,
right?
ma'am.
That's
Right.
won- that's wonderful, because this is what also the show is about. It's not just about people who might be diagnosed or a long-term survivor. It's about people who threw themselves into something with a passion because they knew there was a need, but they also had a story to tell about how HIV affected them in their lives. So at the retreat which we had, and you're in HIV prevention, tell me about your uncle and your family and why, and take some time and really do it. And unless, and pause a little bit, but if you see the fan come out, that means I have something to, I always want to write notes and something more that I might want to get out of your story. So tell me why HIV has become such a big part of your life.
Well, uh, growing up in the 70s and 80s, and when I was like a teenager, when the AIDS epidemic came about, um, being in school, and as we know, kids are cruel. We say certain things or whatever, and when they will see someone that may have HIV and AIDS. They will always, oh, they have that. They used to call it the ninja, because it was, a ninja is a quiet assassin. So
Oh,
growing up in Dade County, in school, they used to call having a person with AIDS. They would say, "Oh, he or she has that ninja," meaning
wow.
something, right? Because if you think about Japanese folklore, ninja was a quiet assassin. And
Mm.
at that time, HIV was a quiet assassin. We didn't know what was going on. Hey, don't do this. I remember even when the Ryan White situation came about as a kid, we were scared to go to the doctor to get blood drawn because we were afraid. I remember it was like my mom was like, no, no, you're not going to get vaccinated because at the time they had the injectable gun. And, it was because out of fear and ignorance, which it was because we were ignorant. Nobody knew, nobody
Right,
knew what was
right.
going on. Dr. Fauci was just getting started and he was doing the best he can. The CDC is like, oh man, it's just the next Ebola virus. Is it going to, you can get it from drinking, you can get it from touching.
Mm.
So, and it was a scary time. Fast forward to the 90s as uh, early 2000s even. Um, I haven't had an uncle. Uh, I adored all my uncles, but this is one. He was tall, about 6'4". Uh, he was a ladies' man. He was like when he walked into when he walked into a room, it was like I used to see women just turn their head and look at him like, wow, this is a good looking dude. How they say tall, dark, and handsome or whatever. And uh, my uncle, he was, he had quite a few kids, like around a dozen, I believe.
Oh.
He was married and he got divorced, and then he used to sing back in the early, what's that, 60s or 50s, and what they call a chitlin circuit. He used to go around from state to state singing and stuff. He had all these pictures of uh, different musicians he was with singing background, things
Yeah.
like that. People like your Ray Charles, your Bobby Blue Band, and BB King, and he was that type of person. He was very captivating fella. So his wife, his last marriage, um, they were going through a rocky point, and I guess um, he had separated from her. They had two kids, two young kids together, and he separated because out of all of that, my uncle didn't use drugs, didn't smoke or anything like that. If he had a drink, it was every now and again, kind of a social type guy. And his wife, she started doing drugs, and she was IUD, and she was sleeping with other men, and so he like left. So uh, one day he went to the doctor. And I remember once saying that she called him and he was like crying. He's like, what's wrong? He said, I got it. He got what? He's like, the ninja. And it was like, she was like, ninja. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, she gave me AIDS. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, remember? Because he had been feeling sick. Because I even took him, take him to go get him some medicine. And hey, okay, drink this, herbal. My family's half is from the islands, the other half is from the south, like Georgia and Alabama. So we doing home remedies. I give him his Cersei and all of this, trying to make him feel better. And
So, Tarrant, let me ask you. So, he was quite a ladies' man,
right,
and he made a great impression on women. So, does he know where he contracted it, and did he give it to his wife at that point?
no, his wife gave it to him,
Oh, okay.
and she knew she had it when we found out later, and at that time, there was no laws where you can prosecute someone, knowing that you have it and you infected them with the virus. So he cried. My oldest aunt, which is like his younger sister, she went to see him and they told me about it. And I said, okay, Unc, it's not the end of the world. Quite sure that, you can live or whatever. And he was like, no, no, life is, he knew it was over with. I can't have sex no more. I can't do this. And this is a guy that's never really been sick of anything. And
Where was he living? Where do you live now?
well, I stay in West Palm Beach, but my family
Okay.
we were in Miami at the time.
So your uncle was in Miami. So
Right.
it looked like you had a very large family of cousins. And did you have siblings?
Oh, my grandmother had over 10 kids, but my
Well,
grandfather had over 12.
that's a litter. That's
He
a
had about
litter.
12. She had 10 and he had 12.
Wow.
So yeah, it was big, you
So
know.
your uncle contracted it from his wife, who was a
Yeah,
drug user, and she slept around. And
right.
you're also, what was the medication was he on then? It was in the 90s. You said it was what
Yeah,
year?
I couldn't tell you. Matter of fact, he didn't even make it to the medication stage.
Okay.
My uncle, I guess this is a person I never seen depressed. Never even seen my uncle. He was always the life of the party. Like
Hmm.
when he walked into a room, it was like
Lit up.
if we were at my grandmother's funeral, this guy had all of us laughing and having fun. That's what he was. Hey, why are we being down? We don't. He was that type of guy. When you felt like you were about the end of the world was coming, he was the guy who's like, yeah, it's the end of the world, but we don't know what's on the other side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You
He was,
really liked him. You
oh,
really,
that was my guy. You know, I loved
yeah.
all my uncles, and growing up, all of them would. Uh, I was that one nephew they always would have around. You know, out of all
Wow.
the cousins or whatever, they would always, I don't know why, but they always had me around them, and I learned a lot. And
So
uh,
do you think fear? I mean, I know when COVID hit, it was the same type of an effect. Fear was the big motivator because you don't know about something. In the
and that,
80s, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, until it really into the 2000s, you didn't know an awful lot about it, and people treated people. They were fearful more than anything, ignorance, but it was fear, the driving force, don't you think? How long did it take? How long did your uncle have it before he passed?
that's the thing, Ms. Mintz. He didn't just pass. My uncle committed suicide because of it,
Mm, I
and
thought he might.
that's the part that
Hmm.
that hurt me a lot
Hmm.
because I started being angry with him because I was like, you didn't even give yourself a chance.
Hmm.
You know, you found out and you went from 0 to 100. I'm gonna die. Boom. I don't want to. And his thing was he don't want to be. He knew people that died of AIDS and how it broke them down. You know, like one minute they're here and then the next minute it's like, man, you're on a vent. And he was always like he would never, if something was to happen to him, he didn't want to go out like that to be on a vent. His
Yeah,
if I'm gonna die, let me die on my terms in a blaze of
yeah.
glory or whatever. And
It-
uh,
It's that's what I kind of thought. When you were giving me a profile of him,
hmm,
I had written the notes down. Did he commit suicide? Though I didn't want to say it in case it wasn't, but I wrote that down already because he sounded like the type of a man who could not live with it. My husband couldn't live with a diagnosis, never got tested. Same thing though. He just was in denial, and I wouldn't get tested. So were an abstinent relationship as far as sex went. But he too, he passed it in the house with hospice, but he was not the type who could ever have lived with it. Wouldn't
no,
have.
he
It went through the motions. My husband went through the motions of getting better, then getting ill again. But he would never be the type that if he had been diagnosed with it, he could never have done the rest of his life the way he did. So I understand where your uncle was coming from.
uh, my uncle Harold, he he never had a defeatist attitude or
Yeah.
demeanor about him. But I think him seeing what during that time there was no cure, you had all of these like I remember people having 12 bottles of different pills, a cocktail or sort that they would have to take back then just to get to the next day or to the next hour. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew, I kind of had a feeling if that he would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was hoping.
He
You know
wouldn't.
what I'm saying? That he wouldn't, but in the back of my mind, I remember telling my younger brother, I said, man, I can see Uncle Harold killing himself. I can see him doing it. My brother's
Mm,
like, and my brother was in agreement with me. He said, yeah, because I can't see Uncle Harold in a
mm,
dead and all of us around him
no,
crying. That's not him. He's like
no,
he's the type of guy that you see in the movies. If it was cops and robbers to come out shooting at the cops and it'd be
yeah,
like death, suicide, but that's how his demeanor was. He would fight until he couldn't fight no more. And
yeah.
this I think the hurt of knowing that he
Hmm.
contracted this from his wife,
Oh, terrible. He took
that
off.
that part, and
Uh-huh.
and at that time, like I said, like you didn't know uh, how you can really truly get HIV and AIDS. So found his body in the house, went to check on him. When they came in, you could see that the blood had coagulated around his head into the carpet. So the sound of Velcro.
Yes.
That's how it sounded when they pulled his head off the carpet.
Yeah. One thing about his wife, does she know how she contracted it or from whom?
She was basically excommunicado from the family at that point.
Oh,
Like when they found out, everybody was like, "You did this," but from my cousin, her daughter, she said that she got it from a guy that she was sleeping with, and they both was sharing needles
needles. There
as
you go.
well as
Yeah.
having sexual intercourse.
Well, that's
So
dangerous. That's still
so
dangerous.
she got either way she contracted, and we don't know how.
So sad.
Crazy thing is that she's still living.
It's so sad. Isn't that
And
interesting?
she's still living, but as far as uh, the family kind of like having communications with her,
No, she's
that
not.
nobody wanted to deal with her.
No, she's not invited to Thanksgiving at
Oh,
Tarrant
Thanksgiving,
Gilbert's home.
she's not invited to the barbecue either.
No. Tell me about your cousins. Now, you also lost some cousins?
Yeah, I lost a cousin a few years back. Um, he cousin Gerald, um, which was surprising, but he found out because he was living in one part of Georgia and he moved back into the country with his mom. So me, this is like I went to their home and we all always, it was like everybody knew, but nobody talked about it. We knew that he was probably bisexual. He had a
Mm.
daughter, but back then we called like your friend, oh, that's his friend, like that's his friend. And he's like, it was like, and I was guilty of it, the stigmatism with
Yeah.
HIV and with people that were homosexuals, like, oh, that's just something for them or whatever. But when it came to family, and I got past my own ignorance and started learning things like, yo, this whatever, until you're affected by it, you don't really grasp it. But he contracted AIDS. Don't know how, never had that conversation with him. But I knew how his father was, which is my uncle, who this is one of those uncles. Whenever I went to visit them, I was one of the kids. He never treated me. Matter of fact, my cousins would joke that he treated me better than his own kids.
All
And
right.
well, I said that was out of fear of our grandmother because everybody was afraid of her, even though she was only like 4'10". She'll whoop anybody's behind. So they know not to mess with me because I was grandmama's baby. But
So you got you got involved with HIV prevention at a very personal level
yes, ma'am.
because you were around it and saw this, you felt the stigma of it, and you felt that by being in the preventive field, you could get education to the people who needed it, and you could get the resources to the people who needed it. And do you still, and I want to go into Genesis in a moment, but that's how I said you got into HIV prevention at a very personal level. See, some people might believe that this show means that you have to be HIV positive.
No,
We've had guests on, has nothing to do with that. They're in a field. I mean, I'm negative. I'm in because of a loss of the man I loved, and I'm staying in it because I loved him. And there's more work to always do. You did it for the same reason. You had family members that you cared about, an uncle you adored, and here this was this larger than life man who could have any woman he wanted, and yet he couldn't handle the diagnosis because he wanted to be in control all the time
right.
of his life. So
Yes,
you felt a very, very personal relationship to HIV, even though you were negative. And the thing is that how long you're involved? You're with Genesis, which is a
right.
marvelous, marvelous organization in Palm Beach County. Tell me about Genesis, when you joined and what you do and what they do.
Okay, well, I joined, and it was funny. I was working at another as a. I went to school for nursing. I had my degree in nursing. I was
Really?
working. Yes,
From
ma'am.
where? From where? Degree in nursing. From where?
I went to Health Career Institute (HCI). It's in West Palm Beach, and I was doing some training at West Palm Beach Community Health. It's on the campus of St. Mary's, and a guy by the name of George. We just started talking. He said, "Hey, man, I got someone that they're looking for somebody to work there." And he passed my name on, and they contacted me, did the resume, blah blah blah, and I'm working for Genesis. But it was pure out of, I don't want to say out of luck, but something that a path that
Clicked.
I wasn't seeking this path. It's
No,
like
it
the
clicked.
path chose me.
Something
Yeah.
inside you clicked with this. But your
Yeah, for one,
nursing degree you got, your nursing degree that you got, was that as a bachelor's, associate?
it
What
was
kind of a degree?
associate degree in nursing.
And did you work somewhere else though? Where you said, where did you work before?
I used to work at I used to do mental health, where I worked in the mental health part of nursing. And
Oh, that's interesting.
yes, very you got to be crazy to work with crazy, I guess. I won't say crazy, but you got to have a sense of, you know, how to work with,
Uh-huh.
but I was
So
actually applied. I had
you were
actually
in mental
applied.
health,
You're right.
right?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
were in mental health. And then this opportunity for Genesis came along. So you got your nursing degree, and then you were involved, and then the opportunity came for you to be in the mental health end of nursing, correct?
Right. Right.
And so, how did that take you into Genesis, the opportunity again?
Well, like I said, I was doing, because I had to do a course, and I was actually where I was at West Palm Beach Community Health. I was there as a clinical site to do clinicals there for school, and that's when the whole thing with Genesis came about. He gave my name to uh, Deanna, our CEO, and to Digna, who's the COO. I guess they were in an organization together. And he just said, "Hey, I know someone. If you're looking, he may be interested. Give him a call." And they reached out. I sent my resume in, and it was actually for not even for the position as a HIV community worker. I was going there. I got interviewed as a patient care coordinator, working with patients that
That's, yeah.
may, yeah. And so they was like, "Hey, we think you would be a good fit for this other position." I said, "What is it about?" And she told me, I was like, "Oh yeah, fine, I'll try it." The thing that got me when she said that you will probably be 70% out of the office in the community. And I was like, whoa, in the community, I don't know office work really. And I'm like, she told me you would be doing a lot of outreach, going to different events, learning about HIV. And so I was like, man, let me try that then. And
Huh?
once I got a taste of it, and I met Mr. Richardo Jackson. They sent me to him for some training, and needless to say, he left an impression the first 5 minutes of talking to him because, as I
Yeah.
told you all in the retreat, he asked me, "How do I feel about gay people or the gays?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" I said, "Well, they pay taxes, they eat, they breathe, they're people." What? Okay, they're
Yeah.
people, and having family members that is in the LGBTQ community, I treat them like it's not like they're regular people. There's nothing if I need a blood transfusion, I don't care who I give it to. I mean, I'm getting it from. You peel back the skin, it's a skeleton under there, so it doesn't bother me. Also, being a father of someone that's in that community, my daughter, I'm like,
Wow.
okay, so it doesn't.
Okay.
It is what it is, So, but doing this
Tarrant,
type of work, beautiful.
you said, yeah, you're very motivated. I could see you in this field. You're easygoing with your demeanor. You have a very relaxed demeanor. You're a very good communicator. And I think that you have a spirit of being non-judgmental, and you are definitely someone who relates to probably anybody. And that's what a lot of our guests are. They become community activists, or they get into the field of it with a passion just for people. And it doesn't matter. And I've said so many times that HIV could unite our country. We are so divided. And if there's one grounder in this whole big picture, HIV AIDS is a grounder. It doesn't care about your color, though certain people, certain groups are more predisposed and certain, but it doesn't care. It doesn't care if you vote. It doesn't care if you pay taxes. It doesn't care if you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't care if you believe in Buddha, Hare Krishna, I don't even know if they're still around, the Lord Jesus. They don't care. HIV, if you let it in, one of our guests said, it's like a roommate that just moved in. I thought that, I'm learning so much
Yeah.
from my guests that, I never heard some of the terms you've used. And it's so exciting because you can feel the spirit of the person come through the screen. I feel your heart. And this field is perfect for you. So you are doing mostly outreach at this point. Tell me about Genesis. What specifically is Genesis? Because I know they've been around a long time.
Okay, Genesis, like I said, they do community help. They help people with or without insurance, but mostly low income to no income
Mhm.
per people. We have an office in Boynton Beach that sees adults only, but one of our practitioners there, she goes to one of the schools. I think she's at Boynton Beach High. That she 3 days, 2 days out of the week, where she's like the nurse there, the school nurse, and she does physicals. She tests. She tests our youth if they want to be tested for STIs. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes, from chlamydia, which is I think is like the main one that she tests. With our test that
Oh,
she helped the children with teenagers. Then we have Boynton Beach, the dental office. We have our Boca office that sees pediatrics and adults in Boca. All right.
where's that? Where's that located?
Can't, I can't. I can't remember the exact
So a
address.
Google. All
Yeah, but
right.
we're at my office that I work at is 709 South Federal Highway in Boynton Beach,
That's the
and
main office.
right, that was the main one. They used to be at years ago. I believe they used to be on the side of Bethesda. Then they moved to where they're at now.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
so they're multifaceted, right?
yes, yes,
Are
yes, yes,
they're a resource to get people to what they need and
yes.
provide service
They
themselves.
were they will refer you to uh, places if you need to get your mammograms, X-rays, uh,
Okay.
ultrasounds, anything like that. They'll refer you. They have partners with other communities. Also in our Boca office, we have another young lady named Francesca. She's the HIV community worker for our Boca office, which she's been doing this far longer than me. I'm the new kid on the block, and I'm learning much from her as well as from Mr. Jackson. But
How long?
we
How long? How long have you been with Genesis?
June 26th was my first day of employment there, and I've
This
done a
year?
few events. Want to do more, but I've been doing a lot of in-office work as mainly like an MA, and hopefully, we just got some new MAs, so hopefully, I'll be back out into the community to do pop-up testing and things like that.
And so tell me about everybody. I like talking about how we get the stigma of HIV removed after 40 years, or let's eradicate that feeling. I hope this show helps because we see the different faces and facets of HIV or people like yourself with organizations. That's what this show is about. It's a resource show, but it's a story show. We want to tell your story, which you have told personally and professionally. And you see yourself in this line of work forever, or are you the type who will you'll always be in the health field in some way?
I think I'll always be in the health field in some way. One day, and I've talked to my wife and to Richardo that I would love to have my own nonprofit. But basically, since I am a U.S. Army veteran, so I would want to do something more
Uh-huh.
for veterans, which is greatly needed, as well as
Yes.
which as well as um, more in the HIV field because it's needed. And you're talking about as far as how do we stump out the stigma right now, what we're doing right now, engaging, communicating, talking, maybe even um, getting more on our local as well as federal government and say, hey, this is still out there. Just like you all, like
Uh-huh.
our government pushed for COVID and all of that, this still needs to be a push. Yes, it's been 40 years. So if it's been 40 years, that means we haven't done enough. So
No,
we have to keep moving forward.
we have great we
Communication,
have we have great medications, but we don't have still the face of everybody who is impacted by this, families, people who you never suspect. The bisexuality issue is so real. I don't think men or women understand how real bisexuality is, and that's part of transmission also. But the other thing with the Army and veterans, I feel so badly for the people, the veterans who return home, and I know they're not getting the services as quickly as they need. I follow the news an
no,
awful lot. And so
no.
when
And
were you in the when were you in the Army?
I went in the Army in 1989, got out, went back in, and got out for the final time. But while I was in, and you said the bisexuality, little do the commanders know what the troops are doing in barracks.
Yep.
They don't know um, how dangerous it is in the barracks as far as they try to separate the men and the women, in the barracks. But when the lights are off in the hallway, things happen. And it could be, I never outed no one when I was in, but I knew guys that were homosexual, and I know that they didn't use, I mean, like, I won't say that I knew, but I can guarantee a lot of times they didn't use protection. And it's
No.
easy in the Army to get protection because all you have to do is go to the TMC and ask for condoms, and they will gladly give them to you. But also,
Yeah.
I remember, you know, one of my sergeants said, "Hey, if so and so say, hey, let's go to a party, do not go." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like,
uh,
"Trust me."
Yeah.
You're not about that life.
Stay,
Do not go. And you
stay,
hear the stories and
stay
stuff
out
like that, and you're like, wow, that's what they got going on. And you talking about the average age of a soldiers are probably about 21 or 22. So you
Yep.
still at that
Nice.
that all right, 18, 19, 20-year olds. You have little Joseph from Mudwick, Kentucky, going over here to Germany, which is wide open with sexuality, and his head is like,
Uh-huh.
oh, overload, and he goes back to the barracks and he just all willy-nilly with his stuff. And now, he passed it on to somebody, or he got it, and he's going on and on. And the one thing about the military, if anybody ever tell you about Korea, if you have a certain STI in South Korea, call your family. Now you have FaceTime, so you can talk to them, because they would not let you back into the United States. There's a little island in
Really?
Korea. Oh yes, it's like a little secret that nobody talks about. Like what's that show?
A
We don't talk
leper colony.
about Bruno. Say it again.
It's like a leper colony. A
Basically,
leper
yes,
colony. They
exactly.
have in
And
Oman when they
you
had
will
lepers.
they try to say that it's a myth about it, but trust me, it's not so mythical. I never went there, but I was still seeing if a certain two people that I knew, if they ever coming back to the States. That
Do you ever get back to the States, or you
no,
stay inside? You stay on that
if it
island?
comes over here, it could be an epidemic. It'll be a pandemic, so you won't come over. It's a sexual disease that where it's kind of off topic with HIV, but it's still in that whole realm about protecting yourself with condoms at least. Um, Imagine a guy waking up and his penis, the top of it, blows up to like a softball size, the head of it,
Uh-huh.
and it's black.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the urethra, instead of going in, it comes out. Same thing with women.
Ah,
The labias, everything comes outward and it turns black. And it essentially, on guys, it rots off, so to speak. And if there's
right.
no cure for it, they won't let them come back to the United States and infect everybody. You know why? They're going to keep it away, because if they could have took COVID and put the first person on the island by himself, they probably would have. Just like in the first case of a person that had AIDS, if they could have taken that person out of the United States, I believe that that's what they would have done. But
Yeah,
it's
I think
you
so
know
too. Look, the island in Hawaii is called Molokai, and
mhm,
that's where they used to put people who had leprosy. So
right.
I'm fascinated. Where were you? This is so good. This is so good. You are you are wonderful. You are just giving me stuff everywhere. But the main thing is, so where were you stationed? You did two tours, so you were in the army two times. And
Yeah, I
where were
went
you
to
stationed?
I got out and went back in, but I've been to Southeast Asia, from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, been to Iraq. Uh, I've been to Korea, Germany. Panama was my first duty station, which beautiful country. Been to Panama.
Yes, yeah.
I've
Hmm.
been to Fort Stewart, Fort Benning, Georgia, which they just changed their name. I've been to
Yeah,
Texas, Fort Bliss, Texas, down in Killeen, near the border. I've been to Fort Irwin, California, which is near Barstow, California.
right.
I've been a little of everywhere. So, but I enjoyed
And
my
what
time.
did
But
you do?
well, first I was infantry.
What did
Then
you do?
I was infantry. Then I switched my MOS to become a central office telephone and radio repair, and I fixed a lot of different electronics. Just because your job could be, hey, you fix telephones or radios, but we did everything in the shop. So I did a lot of electronic work. I did a lot of other things that can't really talk about, but it's some did a lot of different stuff I was told to do.
You learned an awful lot. I mean, you come from, we started when I met you at the retreat. Think about where we're if you hear the music, that means we're got to sum it up. If
Okay.
you got involved in the field, you didn't hear it yet, you'll hear it, but you got involved with HIV because it was personal. You
Yeah.
loved your uncle and all that. And so you felt there was a call on your life
Yes.
to be involved with a community that perhaps didn't have the resources or the manpower, let's say, to be able to um, help people with this, because
Right.
you saw there was a need, and when the need, you fill it. And then you got into the school with nursing, and then you got into the mental health field, and you were in the army in between for how many years? Two tours, or how many years?
14 years.
14 years?
Yes.
That's a lot. I thought you were going to say like eight,
No. No.
14 years.
I'm 53 years old, so I had the time.
Are you? Oh my
Yes,
God,
ma'am.
you look like you're in your 30s. Oh, you look like you're in your 30s. Oh my heavens. Boy, the camera is very flattering, my dear. But what did you
Thank
like before you got out after 14 years? What did you like about the military?
the
Just
brother
one
and
thing.
sisterhood. The brother and sisterhood. That's all. Just the love that we have for one another. And I still have friends we talk now. You know.
When you got out, though, where was the first place you went as a civilian?
Columbus, Georgia. Then I moved back home to Miami.
Okay. But now you're in West Palm Beach and you say you have a wife and a child?
Uh, yes, we have a few children. I'm the only male in the house with 5 females, so that's where the some of the patience
Oh,
and just
very much. You are very, I swear to you, you're reading my mind. I was going to say your attitude, your demeanor, your patience. Do you have girls in your family? Because that is a man, every man I've ever known who I've really liked as a person, they had a couple of daughters because
yeah,
they
we have
knew what a woman.
we have sons too, but it's the girls that are here right now, and they're 4 girls and my wife in the house. Yeah, so it's the wife is no problem, but the 4 little ladies, to navigate between them it's
It's
tiring, but
challenging.
and challenging, but
Yeah,
I love them to death. I'll do
that's wonderful.
anything for them. So
And how we want to put this also on the screen. We always, say make sure you get tested. Call Campbell Health Solutions, and there's a phone number. We want your story. You have agency connections. You have clients that might want to tell their story. You have a
yes,
network of people, and that's what's wonderful about this show, because we don't care about anything except if there's an HIV involvement. And you can see how we flow. This is an effortless thing for me to do because I just ask questions and the guests feel very calm and relaxed, even though you were calm and relaxed before. But in general, please tell your network when we air. We air on Monday nights. We tape a couple of days a week, but we air on Monday nights from 7 to 8 o'clock at Campbell Health Solutions, which streams on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and then once we share, and I share it, then I send it to everybody. I'd like you to do the same. When you go on to Campbell Health, you'll see some other interviews we did. Please check them out and share, and especially your story too. It's going to air. I will let you know the day before, specifically, it airs on a Monday night. I'll do a little promo, a trailer on Sunday to introduce you, and then Monday night you'll be on. And we don't edit anything, we don't script anything, but I'm asking you to personally send out our information, that info@campbellhealth.org or Campbell Health Solutions. And the resources that you bring are just phenomenal, because Genesis is a very, very long term. Genesis has been around a long time too.
Yeah. And the thing about it is
How?
not just people just need to know that it's not just Genesis. If you want to get tested, there's plenty of places you can go, and they think that you have to pay, and that's the beauty of it. You can go to the health department, get a rapid 15 minutes, 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes to know your status. 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes of waiting to know your status could clear your mind for,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in doubt. And if you're out there and you're being, I would say, risky behavior, get on prep. Take the pill, take
Right.
the shot, which is once a month, take the pill, which is every day. People don't understand it's easier to be on prep, for a person to be on prep and PEP, than it is for a person with diabetes or high blood pressure.
Right.
You have to
Yeah.
you have to watch your weight, you have to watch what you eat. Only thing you have to do here is take the
Take the
pill every
meds.
3 months, go get tested, take your pill every day, or take the shot once a month, get tested every 3 months.
Mm. And you,
But they have to know that it's only for HIV. You still got herpes,
right.
gonorrhea, herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia out there, or hepatitis, that you still have to be careful. Come to us if you
Yeah.
need condoms. I'll give you as many as you want. You want a case? Fine, I'll give you a case. I don't care. I just want people to be safe and preventive maintenance. That's how it is. Preventive maintenance.
That's exactly it. Preventive maintenance, and still use protection, but take the meds, use protection, and you can live a very long and healthy life. My Jeffrey wouldn't have taken the pills either. He would live his life. That's why I still, talk about him and love him. But he was larger than life. He would never have lived with the diagnosis, and he would never have lived taking pills, which he hated. And they didn't even have anything but AZT and stuff. So it was a different
Right.
time then. And when you're
Yeah.
ill, really that ill, you don't come back so quickly. But
Mhm.
there
We've
have been people who
come a long
have.
way, and I'm
What
happy
is
that
Jenny?
we have. Say that again?
Yeah, but there's so much more to do.
Yeah.
What is Janice's contact information to contact you?
Okay, it's T Gilbert at GENCOM health.org. And they can just go to
Okay, well,
Genesis Community Health. They can Google it and make sure it's the one in Boynton or Boca, because there's another Genesis company out there, but they want Genesis Community Health. Okay.
that's
And we're
important. So
right.
What's the other Genesis?
I keep hearing that they're like a medical group, but they don't do what we do. Okay,
Yeah,
they
no,
do
the
something
Genesis.
else.
Yeah, and is it all HIV in Genesis?
No, we have a dental, we have regular clinicians for uh pretty much anything health related. We even had a thing a couple of weeks ago that we had women coming in on a weekend to do pap smears. And, we just
Okay.
had one Saturday, just pap smears. We had a day in the week for that. All they concentrated on was pap smears. So we do everything.
Mm.
All right.
Hear the, do you hear the
Yeah, and the
music?
music.
You
Oh
hear,
yeah.
you hear, Here you go.
I'll,
We're gonna wrap it up. But in
okay.
general, the journey, I don't think you'll ever be off your journey. I think
No,
that you're in this field because you love it, and you will be given more opportunities. And I think you'll be the type of person who's not afraid to take a chance and go into something new.
no, I'm not. Miss Mintz, I like I explained to our CEO, I love doing outreach and events. I don't know
Right.
why. I
You'll
feel
be
like like I'm a car salesman. Hey, you get a condom, you get tested. No, you get tested. And just feeling like Oprah or something. Like, come on, you get a test, you get a
That's
test.
it.
So, but
Yeah. Well,
I have. It's when you enjoy, when you love doing something, you do good at it,
yeah.
and that's what I
I
do. I
always
enjoy
tell
it.
people, please, right. I mean, the story you told me is already enough for you to write some kind of a book or a journal, or tell your daughters to journal their life. As a writer, I teach writing. That's so empowering. So I tell all our guests, write. If you spoke their story out, just write some things down. You don't know what's going to happen, and you will never really remember yesterday as vividly as you remember it now. So I just want to thank Tarrant Gilbert, my friend, who I hope to meet soon again. And you have been watching Positively Positive with all the jewels. And I'm Susan Mintz. You can go to susanmintz.com. Everybody loves my jewelry. It's gaudy. That's the word. I wear gaudy big jewelry and fishnets, and the glasses come on, and the turbans, and I'm just very comfortable being this character. So
My
you
wife
are
seen my
watching
wife seen your
Positive.
picture, says you're saucy. My
She
wife
was
seen your
you
picture
what?
before and said, "Oh, she's saucy. I like her."
Oh, that's a wonderful, wonderful word. Saucy. Oh, I can deal with that one. Tell her hello. Tell the saucy lady who interviewed you. And wait till you see your interview. It's going to come out so good because we flow. Do not get uptight when I'm interviewing you because I'm so used to it, but I want everything out of you I can get. But Tarrant Gilbert, with a wife and 4 children, 4 girls and a boy, I thank you so much for your valuable, valuable information. And together we can fight HIV by telling stories, by getting tested, by using condoms, or just stay safe. If you know your status, you can make the right decisions. And if you're
Exactly.
living in that gray zone because you're in denial, it's still there. You can deny it all you want, doesn't make it's going to go away. And so please
Exactly.
go to my website and check out my books, which are marvelous. Check out my books, Committed to Love, My Personal Journey, and I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart, a journey of hope, faith, love, and loss through my dear friends who I met while I was volunteering there. But you are a gem, you are a delight. You have given us so much valuable information in areas I never had a guest yet that served in the military that I know of and has been into so many, and you look so young. That bothers me a lot that you look so young.
No, you look good too, man. It's genetics,
I
I guess.
always
I
say
don't know.
I'm 77, and I just thank God that He tells me, give me the energy, and He opened the doors for me to be able to do this. But I
I
do
want
always
your
get
energy.
compliments. And yeah, I want to be me when I grow up because technically I'm living in like an 18-year-old brain in
There
a
you go.
77-year-old body. Oh, we got better music now. Hear it? This is for
I
sure.
hear
We're
him.
out. Thank you, Tarrant Gilbert, so much. And you have been watching Positively Positive with Susan Mintz. Shalom, Wallace. Stay